Very good morning, everyone. It's George Bayruthi here from FS Securities, giving the market report for Thursday morning, the 20th of April, 2023. Let's go and start and see what happened this morning. When we woke up, we found the Dow Jones was actually was down 79 points or 0.2%. The S&P 500 was actually also down slightly, less than 0.1%, and the Nasdaq Technology Index was almost steady, 3.8 points higher. Tesla in New York was down 2.02% on the release of the last quarter results, which was down. Apple, on the other hand, was up 1 point or 0.7%. BHP and Rio in New York were both down. BHP down by nearly 1% down, and Rio was down nearly 2%. In Europe, the Stoxx 50 index, which comprises most major European markets, was steady, and we can see the FTSE in London down 0.1%, CAC in Germany, CAC in France, and DAX in Germany were both up slightly. Yesterday, our ASX 200, our market gauge, was up 5.3 points or nearly 0.1%. The futures, indicating that most likely the market will open steady, 4 points higher. Gold was down $11 US per ounce. That is actually 0.5%, down below the 2000 psychological level. Silver, on the other hand, holding on the $25 per ounce mark, was up 0.4% or 11 cents. Brent crude oil, steady. West Texas crude oil down 2% to $79.03 US per barrel. Iron ore price slightly up by 33 cents to $120.34 US per tonne. And the Australian dollar trading at 67.1 US cents, steady. In New York, in America, in the US, the 10-year yield is 3.6%. And that's actually the open and the last. That's 3.9 opening, finishing at 3.6. And our 10-year yield in Australia, slightly below the American 10-year yield, giving you 3.53 instead of the US 3.6. Bitcoin down 1,100 US to 29,200. And that converts to approximately 43,500 Australian dollars, down from the 45,200 the day before. Remember, the highest level in Australian dollars was 88,900, and it dropped to 23,700 7 months ago, and recovered ever since. And you can see where it stands today. However, it's still below the highest level of 45,200 yesterday morning. And by the way, the lowest level in US dollars is 66,800, dropping to 15,600 US, and that's where we are today at 29,200. Okay, now we see the advance and declines. We can see that yesterday 33% of all the stocks declined and nearly 20% advanced. The day before, 38% decline and 25% advances. However, the day before, you can see that the volume shot up at the highest level in nearly 3 weeks. But the decline did not continue, and the decline yesterday was at a lower level volume wise. If you look at 5 days combined, over the last 10 weeks, we can see that we've had initially 5 weeks ago, it was all declining, and then we've seen all advances the last 4 weeks. These are bars that make up 5 continuous trading days, and you can see the blue colored chart, the blue colored columns shows that there has been more advances and decline the last 4 weeks, with the exception of the last 5 days. However, we wait until the end of the week. Alright, let's go further and see our trading portfolio. For the aggressive, conservative, volume and momentum, yesterday we outperformed the market for the conservative portfolio. As you can see here, 1.1% up versus 0.1% for the ASX 200, our market gauge for the top 200. And we did even better for the momentum portfolio, and almost the same for the aggressive portfolio. However, in the volume portfolio, we were down 1%. The market, we're underperforming the market by quite a substantial amount. However, when you look at when we started to trade this financial year, on the 7th of July, we started to trade. The overall market was actually 10.8%, following the ASX 200, and our conservative portfolio 21.4% up. If you look at the other 3 portfolios, we underperformed the market. 10.8 versus 0.6% for the aggressive, 6% for the volume, and almost no gain for the momentum. However, if you look at from the most recent high of 7,626, that was in January 2022, our market is actually down 3.4%. Now let's have a look and see over 1 week. We said that the market since the 7th of July was 11% higher, but over the last week the market was up 2.8%, and these are our 4 portfolios. Interestingly, the volume, which is lower overnight, we still well up over last week. So we don't take the negative for 1 day, we take the volume and the performance over 5 days. And from last week, we noticed that our volume portfolio is actually up 5.4%. I can give you a copy of this presentation later on. I'll give you the details on how to communicate with us. By the way, we closed all our position last year before the end of June, and we set on nearly $250,000 across the 4 portfolios. And since the 7th of July this year, 2022, we only used 69% of the cash. We only used half of the cash for the conservative, and you can see 41 and 52% for the other 2 portfolios. And these are our return so far. If you look at previously, we were actually in the negative for the aggressive and the volume and the momentum. That's over 1 day return. So we had a major improvement. Now, what do we have in terms of trading? We can see here the 21.4% return on the conservative portfolio is actually thanks to Mineral Resources giving us nearly 48% return, since the 7th of July. Second best is BHP, giving us 37.6% return. And then we've got Whitehaven Coal, up nearly 34%. In the other three portfolios, we're losing money on Lake Resources. Major loss yesterday, 8% loss in Lake Resources, adding on to the 30% loss before. So why are we holding on to Lake Resources? Because we see that Lake Resources trading at 45 cents while the fair value is 75. I will need to go and recheck on the fair value for Lake Resources and see why it dropped 8% yesterday. The best performance is Appen, giving us 16% return, and Coronado 15.4, and Sayona Mining 16% up. Alright, so we carry on in the volume-based portfolio. ANZ Group giving us 8.6%, followed by Mesoblast. And in the other portfolio, WiseTech. By the way, WiseTech was up 23% the other day. So in actual fact, the fact it's only 40% up since we started on the 7th of July, it tells us that it was only up slightly before the major rise a couple of days ago. Again, if you want to have a copy of this presentation and see those figures, analyze them in your own time, I'll give you the details on how to communicate with us later on. The American market, we're not doing so well. The S&P 500 over 1 week was up 1.2%, and we were down 5.8% because most of our stocks happen to be in the Nasdaq. But we are underperforming the Nasdaq as well. So the changes overnight, our US portfolio was down 1.5%, worse than the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. And if you look at since the 7th of July, our American portfolio up 3.5% versus 6.5% for the S&P 500 and 4.6% up for the Nasdaq. Let's see what we've got in this portfolio. We find that Novax has actually hit us so badly. We're losing 5,800. Why are we keeping it? That's a good question. And Tesla, again, losing money. But thanks to Netflix, Shopify, and Microsoft, we managed to hang on to 3.5% return. So that's our portfolio. We're going to look at Novax and see whether we should really keep it and hang on to it. Okay, finally, we see the most active stocks. EML Payments was up 22% yesterday, and St. Barbara was up 5.5% up. PointsBet 4%. Question is value. Those top three companies. EML Payment, the fair value is $1.6768, nearly 100% extra value. And St. Barbara, you got 71% higher value than the price. And PointsBet 200% up. 200% up. So we're going to look at those companies and review the fair value as well. In terms of those most active with declines, Star Entertainment was down 7.4%, Domain was down 4.4%, Omni Bridgeway down 4.2%. Again, when you look at the fair value for Star Entertainment, $3 versus $1.30, we've got nearly 242% extra value above the last price. We don't have a fair value for Domain. We'll look into this shortly. And Omni Bridgeway trading at $2.30 versus $4.50 for the fair value. All right, last but not least, let's have a look at the volume. The volume-based portfolio comes from this chart you can see right now. What we do here is we look for stocks that had extra volume the last trading day, and we compare that last trading volume with the 50-day moving average volume. So over the last 50 days, the average volume is actually 2 million, and yesterday we've seen 4.2 million traded, and the price was up 2%. The question is, why is BlueScope in this range? However, we look at the value, the fair value for BlueScope, and we find that the fair value is $18.60. So it's actually overpriced. Mineral Resources, which we are trading, is actually $84, up 2.6%. The volume was 122% above the average, and we still have 9% extra value over the last price. In the mid cap, Mass Group was steady. The volume was steady as well. However, the price is $5.13. That is a fair value. So quite a lot of percentage above that. So we'll have to trade that one and have a look at it. PointsBet, we've covered it already. And in the downside, we've got Hastings Group was down 2.2%. Volume was 150% the average, and the fair value is $4.37 versus $2.22, almost double. Okay, now let's go to our details. If you want to be in touch with us, you need to call me on 0411 259526. For overseas people, the country code is 6161. You don't need the 0. 61 411 259526. You can send me an email to george@FS Securities. FS stand for full service. fssecurities.com.au. Trade safely and wisely, and have a fantastic day.